Hello everyone. All right. So I was just checking that all the streams were working correctly. I always do that because I had a few times in the past where the streams didn't load correctly. Okay, so for those of you who were here last time, I started painting this guy. There's still a lot of work to do, and I wanted to lay a base color first and slowly start to build up the details with the color. Here's my color palette. It's pretty simple. We can add more stuff later. But I feel like this works for now. And yeah, so one thing I like to do when I polypaint stuff is check with a flat color material, so I can see how the color is looking just by itself without any shadows or even like matcap interference, because when you have matcap, it influences how the color looks. So yeah, I'm painting on the skin shader and like visualizing with a flat material. Pretty simple stuff. Hey Luisa, how's it going? So yeah. So I started with a bluish base, and now I'm adding the like the purple, violet, pinkish tones to the skin. But first, I wanna import a bunch of alphas because I like to use alphas for painting. I feel like they add a lot of texture to the strokes and stuff like that. So let me just get them. Hold on. Hey Chris, how's it going? Hey Ko. And this one's too. Okay, so I'm gonna be using some of these, but I imported all of them just to have them here. And yeah, I'm gonna be using the paint brush as usual. And hold on. And so like I have 6 subdivision levels, which is pretty good for the level of detail that I'm aiming for. But in this case, since I'm still not doing all the detail pass yet, I'm gonna be switching to 5 for now. And yeah, so I have a paintbrush. I'm gonna be using color spray, stroke, And then I'm gonna choose which, hold on, where was this? Yeah, this one. And so the effect that I get, oh, that's the wrong color. So I'm gonna be starting with the darker tones on the violet, and I get this effect when I paint. So it's pretty good in my opinion for laying down darker tones, and then yeah, slowly we'll start to build up from that. Hey Kurt, what do you mean once kickoff? I don't know what you mean. Usually I like to keep the RGB intensity not on 100%, maybe like between 50 and 80, somewhere, like, doesn't matter, just not 100% because sometimes the effect is too strong. Oh, like just right now. So since these are the base of the horns slash what are these, like branchiae? I wanna have like a transition of the blue to the pinkish tone. So I'm painting from the darker all the way to the lighter tones in this area, and I want to show like change in tone variation across the body. I don't want this guy to look plain, so there's still a lot of work to do. We'll get there. And Polypaint is really interesting because there's a lot of manual stuff, not a lot of tricks you can pull. There are some, but it's not like other texturing apps. It's a bit different, the process. Oh, nice. Cool. Good luck. ZBrush is pretty cool. So, as well, the same thing like with sculpting, with painting, I like to start from the very general to the very specific. And sometimes I like to adjust. I mean, go back and forth, adjust some general stuff, go back to detailing stuff, etc. Yeah, I did sculpt this. You can watch the whole process on the Pixologic YouTube channel. I think there's a playlist for every streamer, and if you search my name, you can find my past streams. I've been working this guy on stream, and it's been fun. So obviously this is not like a production ready model. We'd need to retopologize some stuff, but it's like a concept that can later be used for production. If we just do a quick retopo and some bakes. So it's always useful to, when you're painting, just like work on one subtool at a time, but also like check how everything is merging together. Do you want to pet this guy? Yeah, sure, go ahead. It's probably gonna be slimy. I'm also going to, I mean, the areas of the body that are like really close to the fin and the horns. I want the color to be a bit more intense. And like right now, I'm not paying that much attention to the actual sculpt. In fact, like I could paint this like this. I've been saying all throughout this playlist, I guess, like with this creature, that always I like to always have in mind that I'm working on a how do I put this? I don't want to get distracted by the sculpt. In this case, it's still a living creature. It's like if we look at the silhouette from afar, you cannot tell any of the details. So like the base has to be very solid, and then we can focus on the details later. And all this stuff. But first, like let's get the proper color base. So we can look. Hold on. Oh, my ZBrush froze. I think it's quick saving. Hold on. Hey, music. How's it going? To get it done quickly for production, well, it depends on the type of asset that this is. If it's a hero asset, meaning it's an important character or creature to the project, like it's gonna be animated, maybe facially animated, I would do it by hand. Whoa, what happened to my ZBrush? It completely froze. Hold on. And if it's just like for quick production that you don't necessarily need it, it's not a hero asset, or you don't necessarily need a lot of detail in this case, ZRemesh is perfectly fine. In fact, like the way I did it was with ZRemesh. It's just like a base topology to work on. I might need to reset ZBrush though. This is frozen. I don't know what happened. Hold on. I don't have many things open. I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna restart ZBrush real quick. Maybe we'll lose this, but it's like 5 minutes of work. Apologies for that. It happens. Okay, we're back. Let's see if it saved a quick save. Sometimes it does. Nope. So, okay. Let's load again. Forgive my ignorance, but what do you mean with TPM? I haven't yet updated to Windows 11. I don't even know if it's out yet. I haven't followed any news about that. But it's usually like, if I'm completely honest, whenever there's a new, either like a new ZBrush version or a new Windows version, there's always something that crashes or like it's not working properly. It's just like the nature of software. It might not even be like Pixologic's fault or anything. Trusted platform. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. Okay, we need to import the alphas again. So hold on. All right. So the way we were working on this. Oops, I have subdivided instead of going down. Okay, we'll wait until this is responding. Well, so what is the trusted platform module? I'm very ignorant on the subject. Okay, I think it finished subdividing. Yeah, gonna go down to 6 because we don't need 7. That's too high. And delete higher. That was an accident. Okay, so let's go back to 5. And okay, let's start painting. Use a paintbrush, color spray, and then it was this alpha. Grab the color, intensity. And yeah. Let's do this part again. It wasn't that much that I painted anyway. Oh, well, I had no idea about that. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I'm not too worried though, because ZBrush is usually very light. Has been running well on like lower end machines and older versions of operating systems. Usually, the way I see things, I'm not an early adopter of stuff. I'm usually like a late bandwagoner. What's the term? Because I like to wait and see first how things develop with a new version of. Usually, like for example, when a new version of ZBrush is announced, I would wait like a week or a few days and see what people say online, see what trouble people are having. Usually they come with a patch the first few days. So yeah, like unless it's completely necessary for work, for example, if I need like a new file that's in the new version, yeah, sure, but that's rarely the case. So I think it's fine to just wait and see. Yeah, I see. It's always a struggle. I'm not gonna lie. It's always a struggle unless you never change and update anything. There's always something that's bound to go wrong. Always, like, and not only with ZBrush, like with almost any software. I think it's part of the working with computers in a way. So I'm starting to lay out the purple tones on the back and try and make a gradient to the rest of the body from the top down. It's really interesting to see when we have like a reference. Sometimes you look at like a salamander or an axolotl, and then you see like a very uniform tone across the whole body. But then when you look closer, it's full of tone variations and little details. And so Polypaint is all about laying like tone over tone over tone. It's like, I have never done airbrushing, but I understand it's really similar, and the way you paint everything on top of itself. And so what I'm trying to do is take the exterior and lay out some purplish tones, like on the exterior and the outer part of the body, like the inner part is lighter. Hey Jimmy. Yeah, I did. Actually, I have some here on the ref board, just so I don't forget. But even though they have nothing to do with the salamander, I have them here still. So it's really subtle. That's why I wanted like not 100% opacity for this, because it's really subtle. I want the tones to blend. And so, like for example, I want this part of the head to be a bit separated from the rest. So in terms of color, like just by the tones, it's already helping separate that, like that volume, just a little bit. Oh yeah, the thing is, okay, I see what's going on. The way ZBrush works is you need to, like, everything you're gonna sculpt or paint on needs to be a Polymesh 3D. That's like the first step you need to do when you start with ZBrush. So let's say I start with a new sphere. In this case, when I try to paint, it says like enable sculpting, please convert this to 3D primitive Polymesh 3D. So the thing you have to do is click this button, make Polymesh 3D, and then you can paint and sculpt and all the good stuff. The thing is, it depends, Jimmy. It's a bit nuanced the way it works. So the way I see it works is like a studio when a studio wants to hire you, or okay, let me think about how I can put this. A studio will decide to hire you based on your portfolio, not on your degree. Like they won't just look at oh, this person has a like animation degree, let's hire them. That's not how it works. They will look at your stuff, at your work, and then say, okay, this person has the skills that we need, let's hire them. And after they decided to hire you, they will look if you have a degree, so they can make the visa process easier. That's the way it works, and that's the way it worked for me. The studio, when I went to Montreal, the studio looked at my portfolio and said, okay, we like this guy, let's hire him. And then after that, they asked me, oh, do you have an animation degree? Or like any degree, basically, because they need skilled workers. So I said, yeah, I have a degree. Okay. And then they started the visa process. If you're just staying in your own country, I don't know where you're from. But if you're just staying in your country, you might not need the degree. Just like but you might. I don't know. I think it depends on each studio. But yeah, so the most important thing is that you show that you can do the work, and then the degrees is like a nice bonus for studios to know that they can start a visa process with you. Hey Chris, it's still giving you the issue? What exactly does it say? The error message. Hey Alejandro, yeah, I speak Spanish. I'm Mexican. ¿Qué onda? If you don't have a degree, okay, you're in the Netherlands. It depends on the country. Like the US and Canada, for example, they would most studios they would ask for a degree so they can do the visa process easier. Unless you're like a maniac on your field and you're like insanely good, they might just say like, oh, even though this person doesn't have a degree, we want to hire this specific person, and so they can try and start a visa process like that. I don't remember what the name is for the position or like the process, but like it's either that or you need a degree for most companies. Because usually they need to justify to the government that look, this person is a skilled worker, and so that's why it's easier, like for the government to say, okay, like yeah, this person is a skilled worker. Let's grant the visa. Saludos hasta Colombia, men. ¿Qué parte de Colombia eres? Yo solo conozco de Colombia el aeropuerto de Bogotá, nada más. What would I recommend for beginners? I would recommend to learn any 3D generalist software. So like Maya or 3ds Max, Blender, Cinema 4D even. One other one. Like maybe Houdini as well. But mostly like a generalist software, because usually ZBrush is not enough to like for working in a studio. You need to integrate stuff. You need to at least be comfortable moving around in a 3D software. So the standard right now in the industry is mostly Maya. I think you can also work in 3ds Max depending on studio. Blender is growing very fast. So I would say those three. Start with any of those three. Probably not 3ds Max though. Lots of questions, hold on. Well, it depends, because so before I have the impression that it didn't used to be like that for workers, but now like since the animation industry is slowly starting to become more professional, studios are looking for people with degrees more and more. And I think it doesn't even have to be like an animation degree, I think. Like if you can show in your portfolio, even if you have like an engineering degree, I think it doesn't matter. They will take you because you have a degree. You can show to the government like, oh, this person is qualified. No, no conozco Bogotá, men. Solo de pasada he ido un par de veces a Venezuela y he hecho escala ahí. Entonces, y a Ecuador. Pero justo Colombia, necesito ir. Necesito visitar Colombia, no conozco aún. Monch, ¿qué onda? Para una composición en Photoshop, al menos el pase de diffuse. Y luego yo diría que un pase de especular, que usualmente puedes usar un matcap de estos. ¿Dónde está? Puedes usar alguno de estos, Reflected, por ejemplo, que te dé los highlights y después los integras con blending modes. Y un ambient occlusion o algo así. Esos son los que yo diría que son indispensables. Los demás ya son extra. Puedes hacer varios diffuse con diferentes luces también. Hey Noah, no, I haven't seen that movie. What's it about? Whoops. Sometimes it happens. I don't know. Oh, because I changed the brush. Never mind. But sometimes the intensity gets all out of control. Okay, so I painted all these purple accents. Let's go with a bit lighter tones and start building them little by little. If you want to hire a friend to work at your business, if he isn't qualified, well, I think it depends on the country. Like I said, and the studio, but depending on the work laws of that country, that's why they look a lot for degrees. That's the way it works. I'm sorry, man. Oh, when it comes to sculpting, I'm trying to understand your question. I mean, anatomy for sure. You need to study anatomy. If you can study both animal and human anatomy, that would be the best thing. If you're more interested in hard surface stuff, you don't necessarily need to sculpt it. And depend on the industry you want to work in, you might want to learn like poly modeling first instead of sculpting. It depends. Like it all depends. That's the answer I can give for almost every question. It depends. I would suggest like a simple exercise that when I was a teacher, I used to give my students this exercise. Just to get like comfortable with sculpting itself and the software. Like get a list of things, like anything. Can be like Disney characters, Pokemon, like Dragon Ball characters, any video game you like even animals like a dog, a cat, stuff like that. And then give yourself a timer of 2 hours. Sit down and work for 2 full hours uninterrupted and try and finish as much as possible of that character. And what will happen is that you won't even have time to detail stuff. So that forces you to focus on the base volumes and the base shapes and the primary forms. And that's, in my opinion, the most important part of a sculpture. Because like, imagine if this guy has all these details, the way I have him, but like, let's say my primary shapes are all wrong and don't make sense. Like proportions are all wacky, and like I have, I don't know, a shitty model. I'm just like doing stuff. Like let's say your model looks like this, like it's all wrong, the planes are breaking, the anatomy doesn't make sense, the scale, some things are wrong. Like it doesn't matter if you have like all the details in the world, if the primary shapes don't work, then your model doesn't work. So I would say that's a pretty good exercise. Like give yourself a 2-hour time slot when you can sculpt like uninterrupted, and then it will force you to just like pay attention to the primary stuff. Trying to combine architecture softwares. What software are you using? I don't know what architects use. I'm sorry. But usually like ZBrush is really good for integrating stuff that is like organic. That's mostly what most people use it for. It's for organic stuff, and then you can just remesh it, bring it back into your software of choice, things like that. My CPU, it's an i7. I think it's I don't remember the generation. I have to check, but it's an Intel i7. Nothing fancy, actually, because I'm working from a laptop. And my RAM is like 16 gigs. It's a pretty not beefy setup. ZBrush runs on almost any machine. Like if you have a laptop, I'm pretty sure it runs ZBrush. So anything above that, you're good. You're good to go. Honestly, man, I don't know. Like Jimmy, I don't know what I would recommend. I think it depends on everyone's situation. And I don't know your situation enough to like give you such important advice. But I would say like maybe a game design degree where you learn some programming and some art on the side would be like a best of both worlds, because you have like the STEM part in case it doesn't work, you know, programming, you can do like you can work in software and stuff like that. It really depends on your specific situation and your living conditions and your age and like, yeah. But like having an art degree, it's not bad. Like there's plenty of work all over the world for many different styles. You just need to work on a portfolio and that's it. But you can work in animation, you can work in games, you can work in VFX, 3D printing. You can do like commercials, scientific animation. Like there's a ton of stuff you can work on. Hey, Amin, I hope I'm saying your name right. Not for like for every project. Just for this one, I'm polypainting in ZBrush. But if I'm doing like a proper asset for a job, a freelance project, or in a studio or whatever, I would use like a texturing software like Substance or Mari or Photoshop. Yeah, I know a lot of good jobs in the industry. Like there's a ton. Just look around. Usually the recommendation that I see is that people look for studios that they would like to work on, and then try and build a portfolio around that, because studios like that. So if I want to work, let's say in Pixar, because that's like the studio that everyone knows. And if I just show this, they might say, "Oh, that's cool, but that's not what we do." So we have no idea if you're good for the job or not. Like, this is just a sculpture. We need to see that you can model stuff. So you need to show topology. And as well, like if you want to work in Pixar, it's useless if you show a realistic character because they don't do realistic characters. But if you want to do VFX, then it is good if you have a realistic character. Because then can see like, oh, this guy can do likeness, like they can do like digital doubles and stuff like that. So like I said, it really depends on what you want to do. Yeah, you should. And the Star Wars characters, they're like a mixture between like super realistic and a bit stylized, depending on like the franchise. Some video games stylize them more. Okay, so I worked for an outsourced company for a few years in Mexico, and the clients were from all over the world. And the way it works usually is like, okay, we need help with assets, right? So like they have a big game and they have a lot of assets and a limited budget or a limited amount of artists. So what they would do is just like hire outsourcing studios that have like a lot of artists that do like this type of jobs. So usually it's cheaper for the studios to do this, and usually they commission like a lot of assets that the principal artists at the studio wouldn't do, like just mainly props or some LODs, which is like level of detail. Although like the technology is advancing so fast that there's ways to do that faster, or like maybe just retopo, or maybe they just ask for textures. They give you the model and then you just texture it. Yeah, there's a lot of work for freelancing in 3D for sure. And the cool thing for that is that you don't need a degree for that if you're working remotely and freelancing. You're probably not gonna get a big studio right away. Like you're probably gonna start, if you're just starting, you're probably gonna get like smaller jobs if you're freelancing. But you need to start somewhere. And then eventually, like the most important thing is to build a portfolio and then just show that with portfolio you can do stuff. I think the lips are too pink. Don't like that. Roblox models? I think it's common. Yeah, it depends on the studio, but sometimes they commission like characters. It depends on the studio and how swamped they are from with work. And like there's really expensive outsource companies that like they make amazing work. They will charge more than some outsource companies that do like lower end stuff. It depends. I would say if you want to start your own company, you need to first like get some contacts and need to show some work. Like if I'm a studio and you approached me and say, okay, I'm an outsourcing company, I want to do work for you, I'm gonna be like, okay, that's nice. Show me what you can do. And then you need to show me what you can do. And that way I will say like, oh yeah, this works, let's work together, or like, nah, this is not what I'm looking for, thank you so much. So either way you need to show work. So if you're just starting in the industry, I wouldn't necessarily recommend starting an outsource company. I would recommend, like this is my personal opinion, I would recommend to start working at a studio first. to get a job, a regular job, like a junior entry-level job at a studio, and see how the industry works, see how the projects are managed, pay attention to how like how production works, like the whole pipeline, how many people you need for certain things. That will give you a lot of like an idea, because at the end of the day, an outsourced studio, it's still a studio. You still need to produce stuff. It's just mostly like assets, or you don't do the full project. You work on multiple projects, but you need to show like that you know how to do the work. Okay, so I want to start building slowly like some different tones. Hold on. I'm doing like this subtle dot line that's running across the body. So I want to give some salamanders have this detail, like some shift in tones. It runs across the body and it helps. Like a lot of fish and amphibians have this as well. So it's just a way for, I don't know, to give some variation. I started with a darker base and I'm doing a lighter, more intense, more saturated tone. And so slowly, I'm building the tones for this guy. And like I said, I'm focusing on just the flat surface right now, the flat color. Not flat surface, flat color, I'm sorry. Because I don't care about details just yet. What do you mean the problem with outsourced studios? Well, it depends on like a lot of studios pay overtime. There are some studios that don't. But like in my experience, when I worked, I never got paid overtime in Mexico. There was this one time where I worked, I don't even know how many hours, but I managed to do like 30 straight days of work, like 30 straight days of going to the studio. So that means like Saturdays and Sundays for like a month. And I didn't get paid any overtime for that. But when I moved to Canada, they do pay overtime there. I think it's required by law. I'm pretty sure most studios in the US and Europe and Asia are similar. But it really depends. It really depends. It's a hard industry. Not gonna lie. But it's a really rewarding industry. You just need to find your niche. Like what you're good at, what you're comfortable with, what level of work you're comfortable with, what's your skill set, etc. No, I said it's better to start working as an employer. As an employee. Not that it's better to start with your own business, if that makes sense. Like if you're just like a complete beginner, I wouldn't recommend to start like with your own studio. Start like as an employee, like get employed at a studio and learn a little bit of how the industry works first, and then get some contacts, get some experience. And then if you want to have your own outsourcing studio, go do that. If that does that make sense? In India, well, I'm pretty sure India's fairly similar to Mexico in the sense that they don't pay overtime, or I'm wrong? Okay, so I need to be careful with this pink tones so I don't overdo it. But I'm liking it so far. I'm also gonna be doing so drag rectangle with one of these alphas that has like dots. Can be this. Let's see. Increase the radial fade, so I want it smaller. And I'm gonna invert it. I'm gonna lower the intensity even more. Because I want these dots to come from the top. So something like this. Yeah, that's unfortunate for developing countries, since usually, like, I'm gonna be completely honest, like working in animation, I think it's a bit of a sign of privilege in the sense of the economy, or how do I put this? Oh, there's a stretching here. Like, it's an entertainment industry, so you assume that there's like certain conditions in the country for people to consume that, and so the more developed countries have more established industries with better working conditions and like better pay, better like overtime and stuff like that. Usually, like developing countries, they don't prioritize animation. It's not seen as a it's not even seen as a real job sometimes. So oh, hold on, I turned off symmetry. So yeah, it's a struggle, but it's not impossible. And I'm pretty sure there's big studios in India because there's big studios in Mexico. It's just that the pay might not be like what you would expect, and then you might have to put like a lot of hours into it. But there's big studios in India. I'm sure of it. Like a friend of mine, he went to work there for 6 months. I almost went there as well, but in the end, it didn't happen. So I'm just slowly adding these dots, like this bumpy whatever. Also, a cool thing that you can do now in ZBrush is if you go to Polypaint, you can say adjust colors, and then you have this window, which is basically like a color editor. You can change the hue, you can change saturation, luminosity, or like value, the intensity, a lot of stuff, contrast, gamma, correction, whatever. So maybe I'll go there later and change some stuff. Yeah, exactly. Like, I when I was working in Canada, it was usually like a lot of studios and other like companies were sending a lot of like boring work to India, to Latin America, like Mexico, Brazil, sometimes like Asia as well. I know India is in Asia, but like Thailand. There's a lot of work in Vietnam as well. Like there's a lot of outsourcing going on. So yeah, like there's a lot of work all over the world. A friend of mine just went to Vietnam. Um, but you need to look around and then you need to find whatever fits you. So maybe like the studio of your dreams, you go there and then you realize that, oh, this sucks because like even though I love the work, I'm putting like 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Maybe it's not worth it. But maybe it is. It depends on the person. Some people like the grind, some people like stability. Some people don't mind moving every 6 months. Some people want to start a family and they want like job security. Like it really depends. So I'm trying stuff with this bluish tones, but I don't quite like it. Like a Shape of Water character? Thanks. Yeah, I guess. I'll do them here instead. I'll keep the darker tones in the spine, and I'll just add the lighter tones here. So pro tip, it's really useful to paint with alphas. You just need to learn how to use them, but it's really useful. And then you can do slight variations on this because like this is just my color palette, right? But if I went there and just move the hue a little bit, or maybe a little bit more, like you can do variation. In this case, I just wanna keep these tones for now. Because in that way we're creating contrast. We have the darker tones underneath, and then we have some lighter details on top. And we're slowly building the creature. No, this doesn't work here. And now for this part we want like dimmer and dimmer tones until they're almost transparent. So it's looking pretty cool because then when you have all these tones in post-production, you can do a lot of interesting things. But right now, what I want to start doing is start working with masks. So you see like the power of masks in action and what you can do with them. So I might just, okay, first, just want to add a bit more darker tones here. So what I'm gonna do first is like a base. I'm gonna go all the way down to to the first subdivision level. And then do a mask there and see how it looks. It's probably too low. We can do that at level 2. And so we go to masking. Oh, first let me save because I haven't saved this whole session. Oh yeah, I think it crashed. Perfect. It's good that I saved. Okay, let's start over. We are back. Let's just open the most recent one because I just saved. No need to use the quick save for that. I don't know if I misclicked something or if it just like crashed. Sometimes happens. Okay. So yeah, we were yeah, it depends. I haven't cleaned my machine in a long time, so I maybe need to go like and do a proper like cleanup or maybe a formatting. I don't know. Or just like clean up a bunch of files. It might be that. So okay, we were at level 2, and what I want you guys to see is this. I think it's really cool because in the end, texturing, what I've seen is a lot about masking. Texturing is pretty much just if you master the art of masking, you master texturing, and that's it. In this case, the way it works in ZBrush with Polypaint is different than in other software, but it's like the same principle. So masking, we're going to be using by cavity. And the way it works is that it's going to give you a different type of mask depending on the subdivision level you're at. So if I do this, like I'm going to show you first at level 6. If I do a mask by cavity, it gives me some info, right? But if I do at level 2, like that same mask by cavity, it gives me a different result because I don't have like enough info for it to give me like a very detailed mask. So what I do after this is just go up another subdivision level. So like go to level 3, sorry. Let's disable Polypaint for now. And I'm gonna do a blur mask. So masking, blur. So the mask is still there if we look at the flat thing. And then we invert the mask. And then I'm gonna take a darker tone, like a maybe new darker violet tone between like pink and blue, some more purplish, and still with a paintbrush intensity not 100%, so let's say like 20, 25. And then if you want to see the effect, just go to masking and turn off view mask. It's still active, it's just that you can't see it. So I go back to color and do fill object. And what it's gonna, I don't know if you see the change, but it's gonna start to fill on that mask, right? So obviously this is a very strong effect. So I just want to do it a couple of times. No, but it's dimming the whole thing. So I might need to do the mask at level 3 because level 2 was too general. And then blur. No, go up to level 4. It's a trial and error. This technique depends a lot of on your model. And so I do that, and then I might actually use a more bluish tone. And then you can also paint with it. So I need to import all the alphas again. Well, not all of them, just these ones. And I'm gonna take... So the mask, I think it's still active. Yeah. And what I can do is just paint by hand as well. Just in the areas that I want. This is gonna start to give me... It's gonna help like with volume, right? To start laying like... It's not shadows, but usually like with creatures and even with people, like if you have folds, usually like in between the folds is darker, right? So it's just like a way of adding more contrast, of like making things pop more. Like it's really subtle and you don't want to overdo it. If you want this character for a video game, you can do the retopo in ZBrush with Zero Mesh. But if this were to be animated in the face, then I would recommend doing the topology by hand. Doesn't need to be in Maya. You can even do it in ZBrush, but the difference, it has to be by hand. You can use like the topology brush. You can use Topogon. You can use any 3D software that lets you retopo things. Speaking of crashing, yeah, the extra memory is really good, because I think the minimum, I think you can adjust it as well, but I think the minimum that ZBrush needs is 4 gigs. So anything above that is really stable. I really don't have any problems working with like ZBrush in my computer. Unless it's like a really heavy model, then it might be a bit slow. But for most things, it works fine. So now I will do another, let's delete the mask, another mask by cavity. And in this case, yeah, let's do it at level 4. And I'm gonna blur it again. I'm gonna grow it, and then I'm gonna blur it. And I just want it for a specific area. So I'll take this tone again, the really strong pink one, and with a low intensity on RGB, because I don't want it to be like super strong, just gonna paint some areas of the character. So that's what I meant, like if you master masking, you master texturing. And since the mask is still active, we can still go ahead and like revert some of that with the blue tones. if it's like too strong or we went too far or whatever. And then I'll just use the very lighter pink tones just for the tip here. And then around the nose as well. So you see the really cool thing about masks is that you can use a lot of the info you have from your model. And when we go to flat color, we can see that, okay, now we're starting to see some of the details pop in the color itself. But I wanted to have a strong foundation first. You see here, like some very subtle shadows. Hey, Paiwi, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm glad you're liking it. So with this technique, we can bring highlights to the areas that we want to highlight, right? And not lose the essence of the character. So let's see the mask again. In this case, it was useful for the face, but not so much for the rest of the body now. So I'm gonna go ahead and subdivide once more. I mean, or go one level further. Do the masking again, because now I want to capture some of these details, right? And so I'm gonna grow the mask, grow it again, and then take the super pink that we have here. And mainly, mostly in this area, I'm gonna try and paint some of that detail. Hey Neil, how's it going? So this detail that I sculpted, and then I'm gonna use lighter tones as well. Another mask you can use is the mask by Peaks and Valleys. That also works. And now I'm gonna take these lighter tones. Just paint a little bit more. Just to make these details pop. But not too much. I don't want the details to overpower the rest. of the scope, you know? So one needs to be really careful not to overdo it. It's really easy to overdo it. But so far I'm liking the combination of tones. So in this case, also it's good to separate by polygroups so you can isolate areas. Hey, A1D4, thank you. Appreciate it. Do I have any experience taking polypainted models into Blender? Yes, but it was a very long time ago that I did it like once. But yeah, I've done it before. I used Blender for a project over like a while ago, but it was like an older version. I think the new one is much better than the one I used. So I lost some of the darker tones. I'm gonna get rid of the mask. I lost some of the darker tones here, so I'm just gonna paint again on top. Just to get back some of those tones. Like in the end it's fine because it's like it's really close to the fin, so in a way it's like a transition. And I might need to do some things manually as well. Actually, I think I went too pink here. So let me see if I can undo some of that with color. So sometimes you need to go by hand and just paint exactly what you need, but controlling like the opacity and whatnot. Exactly what you need. It's a bit more slow, but gives you good results. Same here, like I really want these lines here to pop, at least with color, so that sounds like Final Fantasy. Is that Final Fantasy? No. Like here, for example, I want this detail to pop. Same thing here. And I will get as much detail as possible with the masks, but there's a point when you need to paint by hand. And you can start to see slowly the the creature come alive, like the contrast on the tones. I'm gonna try not to overdo it because I don't want this to look like I don't know, like super ridiculous, but I do want to make some of these detail pop. ¿Qué onda? ¿Ahorita estás trabajando en algún estudio? En este momento no. Estaba trabajando en Montreal y me regresé a México por razones personales, temporalmente, pero estoy freelanceando en el momento, estoy independiente. Currently a freelance. I'm probably gonna go back to a studio next year. But for now I had to, like for personal reasons, I had to just take a break and doing some freelancing stuff in the meantime. But the last couple of studios I worked on in Canada were pretty good. The pay was good, the hours were good, the projects were cool. They had their issues for sure, but in the sense of like job security and like work-life balance, it was really good. It was the best job I've ever had, or like the best couple of jobs I've ever had. I was in 2 studios in Montreal. Not at the same time, first one and then the other. Sí estoy en México. No, por el momento no tengo pensado dar un curso. Estoy ocupado con otras cosas. Y estuve dando clases en escena y en el TEC de Monterrey hace ya varios años. Entonces como que esa parte por el momento no me interesa volver a hacerlo. Pero tal vez en el futuro sí desde un curso de nuevo o algún tutorial o algo, pero por el momento estoy enfocado en otras cosas. A veces pasa que como ya trabajé en eso durante un buen rato, es como que no quiero regresar por el momento a eso. El level up, pues algo que me pasó a mí mucho era que cuando empecé, igual voy a tratar de decirlo en inglés si no tienes problema para que el resto de la gente sepa más o menos de qué estoy hablando. So he's asking, Renderman is asking like what's like the level up that I want to have or stuff like that. And when I was starting in 3D, I would always look up to other artists. I mean, I still do, but I would try to be like them. And I think that's like what a lot of people do in the beginning. I would try to like copy their styles or do the same type of work. But in the end, like everyone's different. I know it sounds like super cliche, but everyone's mind works differently. So in the end, I've learned to get to know my strengths and my weaknesses. And in the end, what I want to do is like is to be a very well-rounded 3D artist in the sense of like creating characters and creatures and maybe even worlds. So I know that, for example, one of my strengths is like sculpting. It's one of the things I'm better at, and specifically organic sculpting. And then, for example, my knowledge of rigging is fairly limited. So I can do like very simple rigs, but I need to like learn more about that. Or my knowledge of lighting, for example, is like very, very basic. So if I want to do like a really cool cinematic composition, I need to study a bit more. So doing projects like this is really helpful because I can practice those things. Like I can practice the lighting, I can practice, you know, stuff like that. And so the level up that I want to have, I don't know. Right now I can tell like I want to be like this level because that would be like comparing myself again. So what I would say is just like I'm trying to be better than my old self every day. I know it's like sounds really cliche, but I just look at how I was like a year ago or like 6 months ago and just try to be better than that. And I feel like if I just focus on doing that instead of like a very specific goal, like far ahead in the future, that works better for me. I know some people like to have like these very long-term goals. In my case, it works better if I focus on the process, and then I think if I focus on the process, the results will eventually come. Not too focused on results. I'm just trying like focus on like working and learning new stuff and doing projects. I don't know if that makes sense. What I would recommend, like, lo que recomendaría es crea proyectos personales y aplica a estudios. Eventualmente uno te va a decir que sí y esa va a ser tu oportunidad para como entrar a la industria y aprender los procesos, conocer gente, aprender cómo funciona el medio. Pero mientras tanto, todo lo que sigas aprendiendo, sigue trabajando en nuevos proyectos, sigue haciendo nuevos proyectos, sigue haciendo portafolio. Y pues disfrútalo, al final de cuentas es eso. No te enfoques en así de que, quiero trabajar en Pixar, por ejemplo. Y sacrificar todo lo demás. Tal vez se dé esa meta, tal vez no. Yo creo que se trata un poco de disfrutar el proceso también. So now I'm doing a sharper mask. I'm not blurring it this time, so I can get some of these details here. Again, the flat color, so we can look at it better. And now I'm doing some... Actually, let's go to level 6, now with the same mask. And what it'll do is just like, it's a like indirect way of blurring the mask. Con Pixologic, yo comencé a streamear cuando aún estaba dando clases, como para aprender cómo funcionaba Twitch y a ver qué onda y tal. Porque me gusta mucho dar clases. Lo que no me gusta es revisar tareas y esas cosas. Me da mucha flojera. Pero el hecho de dar la clase me gustaba. Entonces el streamear es muy parecido en ese aspecto. Empecé streameando así poco a poco y fui al ZBrush Summit en Los Ángeles. Y ahí conocí al equipo de ZBrush Live, hablé con ellos, les dije que estaba interesado. Después comentaron que estaban buscando streamers que hablaran español. Y de hecho entré al mismo tiempo que Oscar, empezamos a streamear al mismo tiempo. Y después tomé un break. Empezamos en 2018 y luego estuve streameando como un año y después tomé un descanso como de año y medio y tiene un rato que regresé. Es aburridísimo revisar tareas. So yeah, right now I did another mask. And this time I did it at level 5 and then went up to level 6. And what I'm doing right now is just getting like the smallest like folds and cracks, and just getting the last level of detail to pop, you know? Like really subtle, but ¿qué onda, Emilio? ¿A qué te refieres con los bordes? And so you see after a while, it's really not that noticeable when you turn on the material, when you have shadows and stuff, but it does help making the details pop. And that's what I wanted. And I think it's really cool that I started with a fairly like general base, because now I can focus on like, oh, on top of that I can build on the details, you know? Es con una máscara, Mask by Cavity. Dependiendo del nivel de subdivisión, si lo haces con un nivel bajo, te va a dar un tipo de máscara. Si lo haces con nivel más alto de subdivisión, te va a dar otra máscara. Es eso nada más. Está sencillo. Very easy. So I wanted to start posing today, but I don't think there's gonna be enough time. Because I think this is like 80% finished, the color. But not quite there yet. For this one, I'm gonna use transparency because I want to paint like inside as well. Oh, and I need to turn on symmetry, I forgot. No sé qué gente diga eso, pero definitivamente sí se puede. O sea, si tú ves el trabajo de Chris Costa, el maldito enfermo texturiza en ZBrush y hace texturas hiperrealistas. Entonces sí se puede, definitivamente se puede. Solo lleva más trabajo. I'm gonna do the same thing here at the back with these two. Turn on transparency. Oops. Turn on transparency. Same thing here. Lighter tones. And this is looking pretty good, honestly. I'm very happy with how it's turning out. I like the color palette a lot. I think it's really interesting. When I first started, I was really bad with color. Like, I think a lot of people have like natural strengths and natural weaknesses, and one of my strengths was thinking in terms of volumes and shapes. But when it came to color, I was like really bad, and I didn't know how to combine them. I didn't know how to. Oh, I have the mask. That's why. I didn't know how to combine them properly. I didn't know like color theory. So I studied a little bit, and I'm no expert in color, but I'm much more comfortable now working with color. Like color combinations, getting color palettes to work, um, getting things in general to look good. Yeah, it takes quite a bit of practice. I agree. I think I'm gonna make like the line that I had in the middle. I think I'm gonna try and make it pop more. Let's see how it looks. Let's save first. And I also, you know what? I think I might go with a darker tone instead. Just to make it clear that this is a level of detail that's different from the other parts. And I don't need it to be perfect, because no creature has perfect color. Like, they have these little imperfections, and that's what's cool about them. Also, you can grab like a color from the picker itself. I mean, from the model itself. No, I don't have UVs for this guy. It's just polypaint. I'm painting the vertices. It's the magic of the cinema. Yeah, I'm not using polypaint for this. I mean, I'm not using UVs for this, just polypaint. And then maybe, let's see how this looks, but maybe I can also take another one of those alphas and do like different modify. Let's reduce the radial fade and do like really, really dark, almost black tones. Like in some areas. Do something like really, really subtle. I don't know. Does this look good? I feel like it adds more. But I'm not sure if I like it. Maybe if I'm gonna lower the intensity actually. It's at like 50%, but it's still pretty strong. So like little things like this add a lot of life to the model. Even if you can barely see them, like your mind doesn't consciously register it. And then maybe just paint with a brush. Like across here. Just like to bind all of this together. Quite like this actually. Like if you look at it from afar, I think this looks pretty good. And now finally, I'm just gonna do some accents on the body. No, actually tengo unas referencias aquí. Tengo imágenes de salamandras y ajolotes y así. Eso es lo que estoy tomando como de guía, pero no así súper, o sea, no estoy copiando ninguno de los diseños ni de las paletas de colores, pero es como una referencia de, cómo tiene más o menos los tonos integrados este mono y cómo se ven los detalles, etcétera, etcétera. What I do want to do is take this really intense pink and just paint some details. Around the eyes. Like really subtle stuff, but I think this works. And now I'm just gonna take a regular paintbrush and I'm gonna go and like all these little holes that I did, I'm gonna give them some accent because when I'm doing the post, I'm probably gonna make like these parts glowy. So I wanna have intense tones there, so it's easier to take them and make them glow. And they also like add some cool detail around the model, you know? Like it's really subtle, but I like it. I mean, subtle in the way that the details are not like super big or anything like that. Probably gonna make them glow with this same pinkish tone. Follow L3D. ¿Qué onda, dude? So these little details are the ones that I'm gonna make glowy. I need to finish. I'm not gonna color these things yet. I need to finish the toes first. They're very blue. I just noticed. I think the same on the hands in the front. No, actually, no, just there and like the knuckles and stuff like that. Like here in the hands, and then I'm just gonna finish the fingers. And we'll use this alpha right now. Just paint a little bit of the tones there. Like I feel hands don't really matter that much in this case, because they're all like frog-like and ugly and twisted. So I don't need to have like perfect color either. Hey Miguel, thank you, appreciate it. Same thing here at the back. These toes are really blue. Actually, I forgot to give them to paint them earlier. So just add some tones there and then keep the fleshy tones inside. I think it's fine. Just do a bit of masking there. And same thing here. Whoops. What do you mean? Like, I took time off from streaming, not from working. I haven't stopped working. I just took time off from streaming for like a year and a half. And then I came back a few months ago, a couple of months ago. It depends. There's been periods of my life where it's harder, where it has been harder to get work. In some others, I don't even have to look for it. There's just like it comes to me. So like yeah, it depends. But I would say no. Like it's not really hard. You just need to like look around. All right, this is looking pretty good. Pretty sure it's almost finished. with the color. I'm just thinking what else I can do. Maybe I have some reference here that shows some darker tones in the what would be like the horns, which are not exactly horns, but just go darker. Así es, exactamente para eso. El shortcut para el color picker de ZBrush es la tecla C. Entonces, si presionas la tecla C, puedes samplear el color de donde sea. Solo que yo tengo esa tecla asignada a otra cosa. Entonces, lo que hago es tener la paleta de colores abierta aquí y simplemente arrastro y hago sampling del color que quiera. Entonces, esta forma de trabajar a mí me funciona mucho porque se me hace muy natural, como muy orgánico de, tengo la paleta de colores ahí y ya. Si necesito otro color lo pinto. Easy. I think with this is I could spend like hours painting, but at some point it's gonna be like way more than it needs. I think. I feel like this is pretty much what I needed. And same thing with the hands. I still had the mask on. It's too strong, so I'm gonna go again to alpha. I'm gonna use like any of these. It's fine. It's just like the alpha is just a way for the stroke not to be too consistent. And in this case, I want it to be inconsistent because that's how nature is. It's not like the natural stuff is not always uniform and consistent all over. Hey Vishal, how's it going, man? Long time no see. Hope you're doing well, brother. Yeah, so I think just gonna do a bit more darker tones here. Just a little bit, doesn't need to be like too much. Just to give a bit more contrast. And yeah, I think that's it for the color actually. Maybe we can take now what we have and do some small adjustments. So adjust colors. And then maybe for this one, just increase luminosity a little bit. Decrease saturation, but not too much. Just to make it like a separate tone from the rest of the pinks. And then with this one, we can do the opposite. We can go a bit darker. Okay, so where is this? Okay. The hue. No, I think the hue we can leave it like that and just go higher with the saturation and lower with the intensity, so it's darker, but like really subtle. And then maybe with the body we can do a bit lighter. I'm not gonna do animation. Not right now, at least. I have too many things to do. It just take me a while. So for this one, I'm going to do, what is it, like raise the luminosity, increase it, and then increase saturation. No, it's too much. I'm gonna do saturation at 0. Just increase the intensity. What happens if I move the tint? No, actually. With the hue, I might go a bit to the blue. No, actually, I don't need to do much. Just make things separate a little bit. And the blue intensity, I'm gonna increase the blue intensity. So that's 0.05. I'm gonna increase it 0.02. 0.005. And that's it. You can see when I Control C, it's really subtle. It's really, really subtle, but it makes things a bit shinier. Yes, you obviously need anatomy knowledge to do creatures. In my opinion, if you want to do like good creatures, you need to do anatomy because you need to know the rules first, and then you can break them and twist them and like merge them and play around. But at first, you need to know the rules. Otherwise, it's just gonna look like weird, in my opinion. If you can, like, there's a lot of drawing classes on YouTube. Like, you can just like put like live drawing session or whatever, and then you get like videos of models and poses for like 10 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, and just like sit with a sketchbook and just like draw the poses, like draw the anatomy, and then try and do like 2 hour sculpts where it's just like, oh, I'm gonna sculpt a hand, or I'm gonna sculpt a torso or a leg, and do those practices, and then maybe eventually do like a full human and maybe a full animal, and then after that you have enough knowledge. I feel like you would have enough knowledge um, to start working on a creature and start doing like comparative anatomy and start like playing with shapes and whatnot. So yeah, this is it for today. Thank you so much, guys, again for tuning in and asking questions and being interested. It's always really humbling that people like what I do. Thank you so much. If you want to reach out to me and send me a message or whatever, any questions you have, feel free to reach out. I have all my socials there. Instagram, ArtStation, Facebook, whatever. I'll be back next week because I'm taking a vacation 2 weeks from now. So next Thursday, I'm gonna stream again, I think. No, wait, when was this? Hold on, I need to check that because I'm not sure. Forget that. But I'll post on social media for if you're interested. And yeah, thank you guys again so much. And take care. See you next time. Bye-bye.